welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still watching Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International. And as we mentioned earlier in our intro, we're going to be talking on the first segment of the show on the electric vehicles, and it's used now in many countries around the world. We will discuss how beneficial are these cars, and of course they are environmental friendly. On this issue, we're delighted to be joined by Dr. Hafiz Salmawi, Professor of Energy Engineering, Zagazig University. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Dr. Salmawi. Dr. Salmawi, to start with, can you just explain to us what are these electric vehicles which are somehow used in certain countries?
Electric mobility in general, it's has been used for a very long time. All of us know the metros, tramways, and previously some people might remember that we have trolley buses in Cairo. In addition to, in many countries, railways are already electrified, so it's powered by electricity. But now the new trend is due to the development happen in batteries, is using public transportation like buses, using electric motors, as well as hybrid cars for private cars. So now it's being expanded in several ways because the development which has happened recently in batteries.
Indeed.
Right, these cars are environmental friendly, of course. We would like to know how is it friendly to the environment? What are the main properties of these vehicles?
Actually, environmentally friendly is just one of the dimensions. But I would say that, sure, it doesn't have an emission like internal combustion engine using diesel fuels or gasoline, which emit specifically in side large cities where you have a very heavy traffic, so cars stop for a very long period. We call it driving cycle. So almost, for example, for Cairo, the driving cycle is around 50%, which means that 50% of your trip is that you are stopping in traffic jams. Right. For normal engines, while you are stopping, your engine is still rotating on what we call it an idling. This means that although you are not moving, you're still consuming fuels. Right. However, for electric vehicles, either a bus or a car, it doesn't operate while you are standing on the traffic, which means that you save a fuel. We did a disk study for Cairo City, presuming that if we converted Cairo Transportation Department into electric buses, it shows that it will lead to a saving of around 40% of fuel being consumed, which is light diesel fuel, which we import around 40% of our consumption of diesel fuel. Also, you can save an equivalent quantity of fuel, of emissions, as well as, most importantly, from electricity point of view, that you're going to have a storage capacity on the grid, where it means that this storage capacity could be used to help the grid during the peak hours. Also, it can be used as a storage for renewable energy.
Indeed.
Also, we calculated how much could be the cost per kilowatt hour used for transportation, reaching a break even with the cost of fuel as well as cost of the bus, because cost of electric bus is around double or 150% of the cost of a normal diesel engine bus. We calculated all of this. We find that it could goes up to 14 US cent, which means that it's a very good market for renewable energy. So it might end that you already powered your bus not just by electricity, but electricity generated from renewable energy. So it's an almost environmentally free or emission-free kind of transportation. So this is a lot of advantages, not just environmentally friendly, it's a fuel savings, it's a market for renewable energy which support, it gives much more flexibility for the grid through availing storage capacity on the grid.
Dr. Salmawi, can you just explain to us, since it is environment friendly and the cost is quite acceptable as well, why we do not use such electric vehicles up to this moment? And I don't believe that it is used to a great extent even in other countries worldwide.
It's a recently developed technology. I couldn't say that was a long available before. As I mentioned, it was long available like trolley buses, although the challenge with the trolley buses, it has a very limited maneuvering within the street. So advances in batteries help to rely not on buses which got electricity from a grid, but it could be with a charged battery. So this is a new advances in the technology. So it's not just spread so far, but it's going to be spread in future. But for hybrid cars, which is an alternative technology which is used a kind of motor drive engine as well as electric motors. It's very well spread in many countries. Most of the cars now, or substantial part of the cars now are hybrid cars. Many taxis.
So you can switch between using it as an electric car and a normal or
normal car, or boost the power if you have operating an electric car, and then you would like to boost your power, so you can boost by either of them, either boosting by electric motor or boosting by the fuel.
So in that case, if you're just out of fuel on the road, you can switch to the electric part of it.
Or the reverse. If your battery is out of charge, you can switch to, to the fuel.
Yeah, so it's dual.
It's a dual. It's called hybrid. Hybrid. So it's basically both. And now around between 10 to 15% of the total production of the car worldwide now are hybrid cars. Normally taxis are being used for hybrid cars because a one taxi, for example, in Cairo is equivalent to 11 private cars, because a taxi is operating all the day around, while a private car is just do one trip or two trips a day. So if this is given a priority, it will help. And myself, I have used it in many cities
it's used
abroad.
in the U.S., I think.
U.S. and Europe. Myself, I have read it in Italy, in Belgium, in many countries. There is a lot of hybrid cars. But this is for private, which is, because you don't have a fixed schedule to operate. So it's not easy to tune how much you need to charge your car. But for a public transportation like a bus, it's normally operated on a fixed schedule. So you have a certain fixed route, so you can adjust the charge of the bus according to the trip you have it. So this is why public transportation might have a priority, because first you have a centralized charging facilities within the garages of these buses, so it helps very much, or facilitate, because you need an infrastructure for sure, like a gas station, you need a charging station, or sometimes you rely for cars on your private or your domestic charging facility, but with a separate charging facilities for sure.
Can the vehicles being used now everywhere, the regular vehicles, can they be modified to be using electricity also, like hybrid cars?
Not usually. Actually, normally a new hybrid car, a fully designed hybrid car, because it has a totally different system, either for the arrangement for the power units or arrangement for tracking system. So normally this happens. But most of the car lifetime is around 10 years. So if you adopted a program, you might be within a very reasonable time scale, have a good substantial part of your fleet become electrified. For example, in Netherlands, already the parliament has taken a decision, this was some time ago, maybe 2010, about having at least 1 million car by 2025, electric cars, and they double it to reach 2 million cars by 2025. So it's a trend now going forward, and it's very much part, as you mentioned, for combating environmental hazards which are going to happen, because transportation sector is one of the main pollutants in addition to electricity generation sector for sure. But also I would like to say that electricity generation, there is a lot of flexibility. You might have generation by gas, by renewable, by nuclear, but current transportation system is very inflexible in fuel supply. It's normally rely on liquid fuel, period. So this is make it much less flexible. So as switching to electricity, it helps very much to resort to more cheaper fuel, more environmentally friendly, benefiting from high efficiency of a large central grid unit, benefiting from renewable energy. So it's brought a lot of advantage to this kind of transportation.
Indeed, sir. Sir, we know that the General Transportation Authority in Alexandria did sign an agreement with or a protocol which would get 50 buses as part of a larger contract to deliver 15 buses. So with the hybrid facility, how do you see that, and what's your information about that?
This is a very good trend. Really, Alexandria was normally one of the leading governorate in adopting technologies. And I believe this is very good. It will help to be a kind, like a pilot or a showcase for this, because it's normally, it's not just having the technology available. Is to try to find what could be the challenges for applying this technology inside the country. You might find everything on a paper is working very well, but when you apply it, because you need to have a qualified maintenance staff using this kind of technology. So it's a very good example, and I think it's a start, but for sure the target is Cairo Transportation Department, because this is a major problem. And all other transportation department in large cities. I think this is very much important to be adopted, so I think this is very good pilot experiments to be considered and should be under spot.
Right. What about applying the same in Cairo Governorate?
Indeed,
this is a target, I believe, but I think a successful application in Alexandria will encourage for sure Cairo Governorate to adopt this technology.
What do you think are the main challenges that could face Alexandria now in applying this pilot?
Maybe a kind of a maintenance, maybe, because this is a kind of a new trend. Now you have a traditional bus, which many of the mechanics or operators in the garages have used to maintain it. Now you have a switch. You need to train very well for the staff to maintain this kind of new buses. So this is one of the main challenges. Drivers themselves, because drivers themselves have already used to use a normal bus, which have a kind of a different characteristics in traction. So it needs very much important to train drivers well how to use this kind of buses. But I think this is not a big challenge. It's a normal kind of switch from one driver, because we have very long time ago trolley buses, which is very much similar in kind of driving practices like electric bus. So I believe it's easy to switch for, but let's see.
Dr. So you were just talking about the trolley buses. Why did they disappear? Why we did not continue to use these trolley buses?
Yes, though in some countries they are still used, even in Europe.
Yes.
In
many countries
in Amsterdam,
worldwide.
they're still using them.
In many countries, it's still being used. Unfortunately, because actually our fleet has been outdated for a long time, so a lot of problems, specifically with the network itself. There was some failures happen in the network.
So it's an issue of maintenance as well.
We haven't upgraded our fleet. So this is one of the main challenges, although we have an infrastructure, and it's very bad to take off this infrastructure, because it's not that easy to rebuild it again nowadays.
That's why I believe we did stop.
Yes. Secondly, yes, trolley buses might have some limited maneuverability within the streets now, providing because, many of the large countries, cities, they have a specific track for buses, which is how very much important that trolley buses can move within these specific tracks. Now, because we have such kind of a mixed traffic,
we do have a very special traffic system in Egypt.
A little bit difficult. So it needs some kind of relooking and redesigning our traffic system to facilitate such kind of environmentally friendly and energy efficient kind of transportation means.
Right. So what about the economic side of the issue regarding trolley buses and regarding also electric vehicles? Would you talk to us about the economics part of the issue?
Yes, as I mentioned, that equivalent kilowatt hour, cost per kilowatt hour, which is now the fuel to this bus, could goes up to $14 cent, which means that it's although we now producing electricity at around less than 7 to 8 cents, which means that it's very much economical. As I mentioned, 40% savings in operations could be achieved by operating or switching to electricity bus. Normally also, even if you don't use renewable energy, if you just use normal generated electricity from standard generation like combined cycle, you have much efficient plants which around 60% generate electricity, while if you use the same fuel in a bus, it's being used at 40% efficiency. So at least you have 1.5 or 150% improvement in efficiency. This is reflected in a savings. So a payback period normally could be achieved within 4 to 5 years.
So, sir, to wrap up what we are saying, do you believe that we in Egypt here and in Cairo, we should start to implement the usage of these electric vehicles in Egypt, in Cairo in particular, in order to help in reducing the pollution in the country, of course, and to face to a certain extent the problem of traffic that we are suffering from to a great extent?
It will not save the problem of traffic, but it will reduce the impact of this heavy traffic on emission and pollution and fuel consumption. I think two sectors are very much important to focus on at the beginning: public transportation, like Cairo Transportation Authority, as well as taxis. Taxis might go for hybrid cars because it's not operated on a fixed schedule, while the public transportation department could switch to a fully electric bus because it's much easier to have an infrastructure, because you just have 20 garages around Cairo, so you can use the storage facilities within this 20 garage. And believe Alexandria experiments is a very good startup for this, and I hope that Cairo start following Alexandria in doing this.
Indeed.
Right, Dr. Hafiz Salmawi, Professor of Energy Engineering, many thanks for joining us, sir, and many thanks for your insight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, sir, and have a lovely day. And now we'll go to a short break, and after that we'll be back to resume the segments of the breakfast show, so don't go away.